Earth had always been a proud member of the Galactic Council. Its people had fought hard to join, and had worked tirelessly to ensure that their place was secured among the stars. Humanity's spacefaring vessels had proven themselves capable time and time again. They had won battles against seemingly insurmountable odds and negotiated peace where none seemed possible. Yet now, in the midst of what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic meeting, the Council turned on them without warning. The announcement came swiftly. The Council's representatives stood before the human delegation, their expressions grim as they made the announcement. Earth was being accused of violating a newly established galactic protocol. This protocol was vague and undefined, no clear details were given, and the accusations felt entirely manufactured. Yet the decision was made without room for debate. Earth was to be expelled from the Council and its protective umbrella stripped away. The news hit like a thunderclap, echoing through every human heart on the homeworld, and beyond disbelief, swept over the leaders of Earth's government. How could this happen after everything they had done for the Council? What had they done wrong? The truth began to settle in slowly, like a shadow creeping over the horizon. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a calculated move by the galactic elites, a power play by species who had always seen humanity as a useful tool, but never as an equal. The Council had decided that Earth had outgrown its place, that humanity had become too much of a threat to their dominance, and so they sought to isolate Earth, forcefully removing them from the table of galactic politics. But it wasn't just politics at play here. There were whispers of a darker reason behind their decision. Of resources, of wealth, and of territory. Humanity had begun to expand rapidly beyond its home system, and the Council's more powerful members had begun to covet the resources of Earth's burgeoning empire. In the corridors of Earth's military command, the mood shifted from disbelief to action. There was no turning back now. The planet was on its own, cut off from the galactic safety net that had once seemed so secure. But Earth's military wasn't unprepared for this moment. They had been ready for something like this. They had known that one day the Council might turn on them. And so they had secretly developed a fleet of warships far more advanced than any the galaxy had seen. The humans had kept their cards close to their chest, never revealing the true strength of their military might until now. Earth's warships stood ready in the shadows, their sleek forms hidden from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council. These ships were not just ships. They were weapons of war designed with one purpose: to protect humanity and to retaliate against any who sought to harm them. The fleet was built on a foundation of human ingenuity and resilience. Every ship was a masterpiece of engineering, and each captain knew their mission with deadly precision. As the Council's decree echoed through the galaxy, Earth's warships began to power up for the first time in years. The engines hummed to life as crews prepared for what was to come. They would not go quietly into the night. They would not allow the Council to dictate their fate. This was just the beginning. Humanity had been underestimated for far too long, and now it was time to show the galaxy what the human spirit could achieve when pushed to the brink. The time for diplomacy was over, and the time for action had come. Humanity had never been known for hesitation when it came to survival, and now the decision was made with swift determination. Earth would not wait for the Council to make its next move. Instead, they would strike first and show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. The first wave of Earth's warships was dispatched without fanfare. No dramatic speeches, no endless planning, just action, cold and precise. The ships were called the Retribution Fleet, and they were built to be unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Their designs were sleek and deadly. Every ship was a marvel of technology, blending human ingenuity with cutting-edge weaponry. They were not simply warships, they were symbols of defiance, symbols of the humanity that refused to bow down to anyone. The first engagement occurred near a contested asteroid field that had been used by the Council to monitor human expansion. It was a strategic location that would give the Council a clear view of Earth's movements, and the moment they detected the Retribution Fleet arriving, their sensors went into overdrive. But it was too late. The fleet had already begun its assault. Within moments, the first ship in the Council fleet was torn apart by a series of focused energy blasts that sliced through its shields and hull. The Council ships fought back, of course, but they were outmatched. Their technology was sophisticated, but they had never encountered anything like Earth's new weapons. The Retribution Fleet's primary weapon was a series of ion disruptors capable of disabling entire ship systems. With a single shot, the Council ships tried to regroup, but the humans were relentless. Every maneuver was calculated, every attack surgical and precise. The battle was over almost before it began. News of the victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy, while the Council's officials scrambled to regroup. The human fleet had made its message clear. They were no longer to be underestimated. The galaxy had witnessed the first real test of humanity's military might, and it had been a stunning success. But the victory was bittersweet, because Earth knew this was only the beginning. The Council would not let this defeat slide without retaliation. Back on Earth, military commanders were already planning the next steps. The victory had been swift, but it was also a wake-up call for the Council. The galaxy's most powerful force was no longer passive. It was ready to fight, and the war had only just begun. Leaders from Earth's colonies and newly allied species began to send messages of support. Humans had always been the underdog in galactic politics, but now they were gaining respect from unexpected quarters. As the first wave of reinforcements from Earth's allies arrived, the sense of unity was palpable. Humanity had always been divided by its differences, but now they stood together more firmly than ever before. The enemies of the Council could not believe what they were witnessing. A people once dismissed as insignificant were rising to challenge the galactic status quo. The Retribution Fleet continued its march forward, hitting key Council assets across the galaxy with surgical strikes and leaving no room for negotiation. The Council was beginning to understand that they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity's resolve. They had pushed them too far, and now the galaxy would see what happened when Earth was pushed to the brink. The Council had hoped that a swift retaliation would break humanity's resolve, but instead they had only galvanized it. Earth's victory in the first skirmish had rippled through the galaxy like a shockwave, shaking the foundations of galactic politics. Species that had long been under the Council's thumb began to question their allegiance. Many had remained neutral out of fear or out of an unspoken understanding that the Council's power was absolute, but now they saw something different. They saw that humanity had dared to fight back, and in doing so had shown them all that even the mightiest forces could be challenged. It didn't take long for whispers to spread across the galaxy. Some species began reaching out to Earth, offering their support and resources in exchange for protection from the Council. These species had long been under the Council's control and were sick of their oppressive rule. They saw the humans as a new hope, a chance to break free from the Council's grasp. Others, however, were not so sure. They feared the growing power of humanity and the consequences of defying the Council. Even in the face of Earth's growing military dominance, many chose to sit on the sidelines, unsure of which side to take. The divisions were deepening, and the galaxy was beginning to fracture with each passing day. It became clearer that the Council's decision to attack Earth had set off a chain reaction that could not be undone. Once neutral species began to align themselves with either Earth or the Council, entire sectors of space began to shift allegiances. No one could afford to remain indifferent any longer. Earth's leaders were acutely aware of this growing divide, and they knew that the key to securing their victory lay in forging strong alliances. Before the Council could rally its remaining forces, the first real breakthrough came when a group of former Council loyalists secretly contacted Earth's government, offering vital intelligence about the Council's inner workings. These defectors had witnessed firsthand the Council's ruthlessness and manipulation. They were ready to help Earth in exchange for sanctuary and protection. Earth's military command seized the opportunity, and soon a covert alliance began to form between humanity and these disillusioned Council members. It was a dangerous move, but it paid off. The intelligence they received was invaluable, revealing the Council's supply lines, hidden fleets, and even the locations of high-ranking Council officials who had long been untouchable. The Council's grip was slipping, and Earth's growing coalition was tightening its noose around their former oppressors. But not all species were eager to join Earth's cause. Some remained loyal to the Council and were willing to go to great lengths to ensure that humanity was crushed. These species saw the rise of Earth as a threat to their own power, and they would stop at nothing to maintain the status quo. As tensions escalated into full-scale war, Earth's warships continued to strike with precision, taking out key Council infrastructure and bases across the galaxy. Each victory was met with a growing sense of hope on Earth, but it also served as a reminder of the high cost of the conflict. Humanity was no longer simply fighting for survival. They were fighting for a future, for a place among the stars, where they would no longer be beholden to the Council or any other force that sought to control them. As the war spread and the galaxy's allegiances continued to shift, one thing became clear: humanity had not only survived their betrayal, they were on the brink of reshaping the galaxy in their image, and the Council had no idea what was coming next. As the war between Earth and the Council intensified, it became clear that humanity needed more than just skilled tactics and advanced technology. To win this conflict, they needed something that could turn the tide decisively, a weapon capable of striking fear into the hearts of the Council's most powerful fleets, and giving the galaxy a glimpse of the sheer force humanity was capable of unleashing. The answer came in the form of the Titan's massive warships that had been in development for years, hidden away in secret military bases scattered across Earth's colonies. These ships were far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each Titan was a floating fortress capable of withstanding the most devastating attacks while returning fire with an overwhelming barrage of energy blasts and missile strikes. Their sheer size and power made them nearly unstoppable, and their weapons were designed to outclass even the Council's most advanced fleets. Elias Rook, the lead engineer behind the Titan program, stood before the assembled military officials. As he gave his presentation, the Titans were ready for deployment, and they would be humanity's greatest weapon in this fight. But he made it clear that these ships were not simply about firepower. They were about sending a message. The Titans would show the Council that humanity was not to be trifled with, that Earth had the power to shape the future of the galaxy on its own terms. The first Titan was unleashed into the battlefield during a high-stakes conflict near the Council's border. A powerful fleet of Council ships had been sent to intercept a convoy of Earth's supply ships, which were essential to the war effort. The Council's fleet expected a simple victory, but they had no idea what was coming when the Titan appeared on the radar. Their scanners blinked with confusion. The Titan was like nothing they had encountered before. Its weapon systems powered up, and the first volley of energy blasts tore through the Council fleet like paper. The Council ships attempted to retaliate, but their attacks were ineffective against the Titan's advanced shields and armor. The Titan struck back with devastating precision. Each shot from its cannons obliterated entire ships in seconds. The Council fleet was shattered in minutes. The message was clear: humanity was no longer the underdog. They were now the galaxy's most powerful force, and they had the Titans to prove it. The galaxy watched in awe and fear as the Titans made their debut. Earth's military took full advantage of the Titans' power, deploying them across multiple fronts where they systematically dismantled Council forces. Each battle was a brutal reminder of the gap between Earth's new military might and the Council's crumbling authority on the battlefield. The Council's leaders scrambled to mount a response, but they were beginning to realize that they had miscalculated humanity's strength. With the Titans leading the charge, humanity's resolve hardened even further as they watched the once mighty Council lose its grip on the galaxy. Earth's allies grew more confident. Their support for humanity's cause swelled as the Titans continued to sweep through the galaxy. Every victory was a blow to the Council and a signal to the rest of the galaxy that Earth would no longer be anyone's pawn. They were now a force to be reckoned with, and their place among the stars was assured. But even as the Titans decimated the Council's fleets, a darker truth loomed: humanity was winning, but the cost of war was rising. and soon Earth would be forced to face the consequences of its newfound power. The Council had been humiliated, its fleets shattered, and its power beginning to slip away. The Titans had dealt a crushing blow to their forces, and humanity's allies were growing stronger with each passing day. But the Council was not a force to be underestimated. They had vast resources, and the will to fight back despite their losses. They had not yet given up hope, and their retaliation would be swift and brutal. The Council's leaders knew they had to strike back before humanity could gain any more ground. Their remaining fleets were quickly mobilized, and new reinforcements were sent from the farthest corners of the galaxy. Their strategy was clear. They would hit Earth's weakest points and try to cripple humanity's growing military power. Before the Titans could do any more damage, a series of surprise attacks were planned aimed at critical supply lines and key colonies that were vital to Earth's war effort. The first wave of Council ships arrived at Earth's outer colonies. They attacked without warning, their ships emerging from hidden regions of space and launching devastating assaults on civilian and military targets alike. Entire colonies were reduced to ashes as the Council's fleet rained fire down on them. Their weapons had been recalibrated specifically to deal with Earth's warships, and they were deadly accurate. The Council's new strategy was to overwhelm humanity's defenses by sheer numbers and tactical superiority. The news of these attacks reached Earth like a thunderclap. Commanders scrambled to respond as the full scale of the Council's vengeance became apparent. The Titans were ready, but they could not be everywhere at once, and the rest of humanity's fleet was quickly engaged in desperate battles on multiple fronts. Earth's military had trained for this moment, but the toll was steep. Even with the advantage of the Titans, humanity was fighting a war on two fronts now, one in space and the other on their homeworld. As Earth's forces scrambled to respond, they realized just how far the Council was willing to go to win this war. The Council had always seen humanity as expendable, but now they showed just how far they were willing to push Earth to break them if necessary. It was a dark realization, but it also hardened humanity's resolve. They would not be pushed into submission. They would fight back with everything they had. On Earth's homeworld, the capital city was thrown into chaos as news of the Council's attacks spread. Panic began to set in as citizens realized the full extent of the danger they faced. Earth was on the brink of being overwhelmed by the sheer size of the Council's reinforcements. But even as fear swept through the population, a new sense of unity began to rise. Humanity had always been a fragmented species, but the threat of annihilation brought them together in ways they had never known before. Leaders from every corner of Earth's colonies began to rally together, forming a coalition that would fight not just for survival, but for the future of their species. They knew they could not afford to lose this war, and so they began to put everything on the line. Every resource, every weapon, and every ship would be used in the defense of their homeworld and their allies. They would not let the Council have the final say in their fate. They would fight back, and they would not stop until the Council was defeated once and for all. The Council's retaliation had been brutal and swift, but it had also been a wake-up call for humanity, a reminder that their enemies were not only capable of tremendous power, but also willing to unleash it without hesitation. Earth's military forces had been stretched thin, fighting back against the surprise attacks on their colonies and defending their homeworld from orbital bombardments. Yet even as humanity faced their darkest hour, they began to see a glimmer of hope in the storm. The Titans remained humanity's most powerful weapon, and their presence on the front lines was the deciding factor in several key battles. But they could not be everywhere at once, and the Council knew this all too well. Their strategy now relied on overwhelming humanity by targeting their critical infrastructure and resources. They knew that if they could cripple Earth's supply lines and disable their remaining fleet forces, then victory would be within their grasp. Humanity knew this as well, and in response they began a series of high-risk operations to counter the Council's strategy. The first of these operations was a daring mission to destroy one of the Council's major supply depots, located deep within enemy-controlled space. This depot was responsible for supplying the Council's fleets with weapons, fuel, and essential supplies, and without it the Council's forces would be crippled for months. A small fleet of elite human ships, led by Captain Sarah Stark, was assembled for this mission. The operation was considered near suicidal. The Council's defenses were formidable, and the location was heavily guarded, but Captain Stark was known for her ingenuity and relentless determination, and she was willing to risk everything for a chance to strike back at the Council. The mission was launched under the cover of a stealth field, and the small fleet advanced toward the target undetected. But as they neared the depot, they were betrayed by a leak in their stealth system. The Council's sensors detected them just moments before they reached the target, and the depot was heavily defended by a wave of Council ships. Their numbers vastly outmatched humanity's small force. The battle that followed was nothing short of brutal. The human ships fought fiercely, but the Council's ships were overwhelming. Captain Stark's fleet was outgunned and outnumbered, but they fought with desperation. Knowing the stakes, they launched everything they had at the Council ships, hoping for a miracle. And in a final act of bravery, Stark ordered her ship to be used as a decoy. While the rest of the fleet completed the mission, the sacrifice was immense, but it worked. The supply depot was destroyed in a massive explosion that rocked the Council's forces to their core. The Council was thrown into disarray as their vital supplies were lost, and their fleets temporarily crippled by the destruction of the depot. The operation had been a success at a terrible cost. Captain Stark and her crew had been lost, but their actions had shifted the balance of the war. The victory was a symbolic blow to the Council's leadership, a reminder that humanity was capable of striking back, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Back on Earth, the news of the operation's success was met with mixed emotions: grief for the fallen heroes and pride in the victory. They had achieved the destruction of the depot, sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and the Council's leadership was forced to reconsider their next steps. Humanity had struck back hard, and now the Council knew that they were in a war they could not easily win. The Council had underestimated humanity from the beginning, and each strike back against them only served to prove how resilient the human spirit could be. With the destruction of the supply depot, humanity had gained a significant advantage in the war. Their boldness had crippled one of the Council's most critical assets, and the galaxy took notice. The alliance of species that had been growing in strength around Earth was beginning to solidify as more and more systems began to pledge their support for humanity's cause. It was no longer just about fighting back for survival. The war had evolved into something much bigger, a struggle for freedom, a war to break the chains of oppression that the Council had imposed on so many species for so long. The Council's leadership was shaken by the loss of the depot, but they were far from beaten. They still controlled vast stretches of the galaxy, and their fleets were still formidable, but the cracks in their once unshakable power were beginning to show, and their hold on the galaxy was weakening. In the wake of their defeat at the depot, the Council began to shift their focus toward Earth itself. They could no longer ignore the threat humanity posed, and they knew that if they didn't crush Earth's defenses soon, they would risk losing everything they had worked for. The Council began to prepare for a final assault on Earth, hoping to deliver a decisive blow that would break humanity's will to fight. As the Council prepared their forces, Earth's leaders knew that the final battle was coming. The military was in full mobilization, with every available ship and soldier being called to arms. The Titans were deployed in full force, and the fleets of Earth's allies were massed together under the banner of humanity's cause. It was a moment of unprecedented unity, as species that had once been divided stood side by side with Earth, ready to face the Council's might head-on. But even with the combined strength of Earth and its allies, there was still a sense of uncertainty. The Council's fleets were still vast, and their weapons were devastating, but humanity had proven time and time again that they could overcome insurmountable odds. The coming battle would decide not just the fate of Earth, but the future of the galaxy itself. In the days leading up to the battle, Earth's leaders gathered in secret to discuss their strategy. They knew that the Council would come with everything they had, and the key to victory would be striking first with precision and overwhelming force. Humanity had learned from their past victories and defeats, and they knew they could not afford to make the same mistakes again. The attack would need to be fast and devastating. On the eve of the battle, a final message was sent out to the galaxy, a message from Earth's highest commander, General Alaric Drake, addressed to every species that had joined humanity's cause. He spoke of the sacrifices made by so many and the bravery that had been shown in the face of impossible odds. He called upon every being in the galaxy to stand together for one final push against the Council, to show them that no force in the universe could ever break humanity's will to fight. The response was overwhelming, as fleets gathered around Earth, ready to face the Council in the largest battle the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity was no longer an underdog. It was a force to be reckoned with, and they would show the Council just how high a price they would pay for underestimating the might of Earth's warships and its allies. The time for diplomacy was long past. The time for war had come, and the outcome would change the galaxy forever. The galaxy held its breath as the final battle approached. The Council's fleet was vast, and its resolve unbroken, but Earth's coalition had grown stronger than anyone could have predicted. The Titans stood as the pinnacle of human strength. But it was not just the Titans that made Earth's forces so formidable. It was the unity of a galaxy that had decided to rise up against oppression. No longer would they be slaves to the Council's will. They stood now as free beings ready to defend the future of their people. The battle began in the deep void of space near Earth's outermost colonies. The Council's forces arrived in a vast armada, their ships darkening the skies of entire systems. But Earth's fleet was ready, their warships prepared for this moment. Every ship and soldier had one goal: to destroy the Council once and for all. The first volley of fire came from the Titans, their massive energy cannons lighting up the void as they fired upon the Council's lead ships. Their attacks were brutal and precise, tearing through enemy vessels with overwhelming force. The Council's fleet retaliated with equal fury, their ships launching waves of missile strikes and energy blasts that lit up the darkness of space. But the Titans and Earth's forces stood firm. The combined might of the galaxy's united forces surged forward as they engaged the Council's fleet with a determination and tenacity that shocked even their enemies. The Council's ships were powerful, but the weight of numbers and the strength of unity were beginning to take their toll. The battle raged for hours, with no clear winner emerging. The sky was filled with flashes of light as ships from both sides collided in a storm of destruction. But it was Earth's resolve that began to shift the balance. Each wave of attack from the Council was met with an equal response from Earth's coalition. The Titans led the charge, but the smaller ships fought just as fiercely. The alien species that had joined humanity's cause fought side by side, with the humans pushing back the Council's forces at every turn. As the battle neared its climax, the Council's flagship emerged from the chaos, its massive form dwarfing every other ship in the vicinity. It was a symbol of the Council's power, its leaders watching from within the heart of the storm as their fleet fought to maintain control. But the tide had turned, and even the Council's flagship could not escape the inevitable. The Titans focused their firepower on the flagship, its shields buckling under the relentless assault. The final blow came from the hands of Captain Sarah Stark's successor, Captain Jared Hunter, who had taken command of the fleet after Stark's death. With a decisive strike, he ordered the remaining Titans to converge their fire on the Council's flagship, and with one massive explosion it was destroyed. In an instant the Council's fleet was thrown into disarray, their leadership lost, and their forces scattered across the galaxy. The final remnants of the Council's military were quickly mopped up by Earth's forces and their allies. The battle was over, the war was won, and the Council's reign of terror had come to an end. The galaxy erupted in celebration as the news spread from planet to planet. Humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and now they stood as the new leaders of the stars. Earth's victory was not just a triumph of military might, it was a triumph of unity and hope, a testament to the strength of those who refused to accept tyranny and oppression. And as the galaxy began to rebuild under a new era of peace and cooperation, Earth took its place at the helm, leading the way toward a future where freedom and justice would reign for all.